If you want to quickly build a web or React Native app that can scale, then stick around. This episode is for you. My guest for this episode is René from Bernau, Germany. René has been passionate about software engineering since he was a teenager. Now he wants to build an app that makes it easy for anyone in the world to pitch their business idea to an investor. Let's hear from René.
Individuals want an easy way to invest into projects they are passionate about. And startups are always looking for financing. So I want to create one pitch, a mobile application where you can choose and invest into projects hassle-free, giving you the opportunity for your financial freedom.
Throughout this episode, I'll also show you the pieces that you'll need to build your app so it can handle the load when you go viral. I've included links for all of the services that I cover in the description of this video. Let's dive in. You'll use AWS Amplify since it is the fastest and easiest way to build web and mobile apps at scale. Amplify has a CLI tool, libraries, and a console to help you build and deploy your app to the cloud. If you haven't built an app in Amplify before, then I suggest using the console because it walks you through building out all of the major backend components that you'll need for your app. And if this is your first time building in AWS, then Amplify is a great place to start because it abstracts you having to know names of AWS services in order to add functionality to your app. All of the services that I'll mention next will be provisioned using Amplify. Every app needs secure user authentication and authorization. Amazon Cognito lets you add user sign-up, sign-in, and access control to your web and mobile apps quickly and easily. You'll add authentication to your app through the authentication library in Amplify. With Cognito, users can sign in using their existing Amazon, Facebook, Google, or Apple credentials. Amplify has a concept called UI components that you can take advantage of if you're building an app using React, React Native, Vue, Angular, Ionic, or Next.js. You can think of UI components as pieces of boilerplate UI that you can use in your app that are connected to cloud services. Amplify has a UI component for authentication with Cognito. When you use this component, you get your basic form for signing in, signing out, and creating an account and resetting your password. You still have to write the JavaScript code to build out the authentication workflow, but at least this can save you time. By default, the UI component will come with a specific theme, but I've left a link to instructions below the video on how to customize the CSS variables. You can also use the analytics library in Amplify to understand who is using your app and how they're using it. This means knowing who's purchasing your products, the country or region where your users live, and metrics that show how frequently your app is used. For René, this means he can compare the usage patterns of investors versus startups. In René's app, the 1-minute pitches will be stored in Amazon S3. S3 is your go-to service for cloud storage. Just run Amplify add storage in the command line using the Amplify CLI, and you've got cloud storage enabled. And it's only 7 more lines of code to add server-side encryption, so there's no excuses. René will use Amazon CloudFront, a content delivery network, to ensure that video pitches load as fast as possible. Content delivery networks, also known as CDNs, deliver data, videos, applications, and APIs with low latency and high transfer speed. With Amazon CloudFront, your application can leverage AWS's global private network, and traffic is intelligently routed to your user's closest AWS edge location. There are 2 ways to deploy your application to CloudFront. If you don't want to spend time on the implementation details about setting up a CDN, then follow the steps in the Amplify console to host your app. I've listed the link to instructions on how to host your app in Amplify in the description below the video. These steps will add CloudFront to your application. If you want more control over how your CloudFront distribution is provisioned, then you'll run Amplified Add Hosting in the AWS CLI. The bar for web and mobile apps these days is high, which means you need to handle scenarios where your customer is offline and using your app. This means you'll sync data between an on-device data storage and a database in the cloud. You'll use the Amplify Datastore library to persist data locally on the device. You'll write your data model and operations to access, write, or query data using the Datastore API. Here's where the magic happens. When you initialize Datastore, it'll guide you to provision a GraphQL API that can read, write, and subscribe to the data to perform actions in real time. This GraphQL API is built on AWS AppSync, a fully managed service that makes it easy to develop GraphQL APIs. Once you've provisioned your GraphQL API, then you just need to add the code in the Datastore API that syncs data. Datastore will take care of syncing your data to Amazon DynamoDB, a NoSQL database in the cloud. If you're still wrapping your head around how you can sync data, don't worry. It took me a lot of time to really understand what was going on. There's a link to the AWS documentation that explains how Datastore works. In Renee's app, an investor will probably want to contact the startup to ask questions before investing. Renee can use the GraphQL API library in Amplify. This API will invoke an AWS Lambda function. Lambda allows you to run code without thinking about servers. You'll write your code in the Lambda function to send an email using Amazon's Simple Email Service. Simple Email Service is a scalable email service. Next is payments. Renee wants to allow investors to invest in startups directly in his app. You'll use the GraphQL API library in Amplify to record the transaction, make a call to your own payment processor or a third-party processor. My favorite part about this entire app is it's completely serverless, which means you don't have to manage servers. You just run your code and you get the right amount of compute at any scale. Now it's time for a recap. Use AWS Amplify to build your app quickly. Add sign up and sign in with Amazon Cognito. Store videos in Amazon S3 and serve them over Amazon CloudFront. Sync data on the device and to the cloud with Amplify Datastore, AWS GraphQL, and Amazon DynamoDB. Email your customers with Amazon's Simple Email Service. All of your backend application logic happens in AWS Lambda. That's how you get your app to market as fast as possible. Make sure you check out the links below the video before you get started. It doesn't matter when you start as long as you just get started. Thanks for hanging out with me. See you soon.